Chapter 289 Slaughtering the Demon Wolves. Ooh woo! In the midst of the intense battle, the huge three-eyed magic wolf suddenly raised its head and let out a howl to the sky. The sound echoed away into the distance. Clearly, it was not trying to execute a special move. A while later, a great disturbance could be felt in the distance. Since Mo Fan was sitting high up, he could see countless figures appearing from the buildings and the corners, moving into the open. They were moving toward the source of the three-eyed magic wolf's howl like a black tide. Summoning the crew when it can't win? I thought this was meant to be a duel? Mo Fan did not agree with the three-eyed magic wolf's decision. Putting his disdain aside, a pack of one-eyed magic wolves was charging toward them from all directions. One-eyed magic wolves focused heavily on their physical strength. The sight of them running had quite an outstanding visual impact. It felt like the entire area was shaking. The number of the one-eyed magic wolves continued to increase. Mo Fan estimated there were at least 50 of them. Back in Bo City, such a pack of one-eyed magic wolves was enough to wipe out a huge group of magicians instantly. Mo Fan was left with no choice. The device had been installed into the ground for over 2 hours, so his job was almost done. He had promised to investigate on his own. If he were to return empty-handed, he would have to suffer being mocked by Shen Mingxiao, Luo Song, Liao Mingxuan, and the others again. Preserving his face was only part of the reason. Most importantly, Mo Fan had the urge to start a massacre now. These pieces of shit, he once had no choice but to run away for his life when facing them. Now, he wanted some payback by butchering them. Otherwise, what was the point of him learning magic? Swift Star Wolf, you focus on that one. I'll handle the rest, Mo Fan told him. The Swift Star Wolf cleared his throat. He seemed to have something to say. Shouldn't Mo Fan be the one fighting against the boss, while he handled its subordinates? Mo Fan jumped to the roof of the next building, which was overgrown with Boston ivy. Half of the building had already collapsed, and a variety of plants had grown their way into it. 1, 2, 3, 7. Very well, I'll let you keep one another in company in death. Mo Fan wore a confident grin as he pictured the star pattern. A few seconds later, he began to emit a strong fiery aura. He continued to release heat to his surroundings under his control, gathering on his right fist. The energy condensed, his fist turning blazing red. A moment later, Mo Fan suddenly threw a punch, aiming at the street from the high ground. The target spot was a corner on the street. 7 one-eyed magic wolves were running toward the source of the howl excitedly. They thought their leader had found some delicacies for them. However, as they turned the corner, their vision was filled with a blazing curtain, as if a burning meteorite had just crashed in front of them. The 2 one-eyed magic wolves leading the way were dumbfounded. They instinctively tried to turn around and flee, but instantly collided with the one-eyed magic wolves behind them. The fiery fist landed, and the 7 one-eyed magic wolves were thoroughly devoured by the rose flame. Those that were turned instantly into piles of black ash died a quick death, but those that were half burned from the flame and suffered the impact from the fiery fist experienced the most pain. Even as they exhaled their last breath, they could not understand why their boss had summoned them here, just to die. The one-eyed magic wolves here and the one-eyed magic wolves in the south by Bo City did not belong to the same horde. Unfortunately, someone here bore a huge grudge against their species. Mo Fan had just eliminated 7 one-eyed magic wolves with a single attack. The feeling of being able to crush his opponent's lives easily made him hot-blooded. Those who had not experienced being hunted by the one-eyed magic wolves would never understand how excited Mo Fan was. Either way, he would kill every single one of them that he stumbled into today. 2 one-eyed magic wolves that were hiding pretty well in the shadows dashed out from the debris when they saw Mo Fan focusing on killing their comrades. They opened their mouths wide, aiming to tear Mo Fan apart with brute force. They coordinated their attacks from both sides, leaving Mo Fan with no escape. Too slow. Are you seriously trying to ambush me with that speed? Mo Fan sneered. With his current strength, it was too easy for him to detect the presence of a few servant-class beasts. The experience he had collected from fighting against stronger beasts had gotten him used to their attack patterns. Even the mother-scale skin phantom and the cursed beast that were infamous for their speed were unable to threaten Mo Fan's life. How could these one-eyed magic wolves possibly do it? In Mo Fan's eyes, they were incredibly clumsy with their attacks. As the jaws approached him, his body dissolved into a puff of black shadow, which rapidly sank into the portal between the layers of light and darkness. In the following second, Mo Fan reappeared on the roof of a different building. He looked at the one-eyed magic wolves exchanging kisses while flipping his hand, which already had a blazing red flame burning on it. "Enjoy your time together in the fire." Mo Fan threw the sparkling flame forward. The flame drew a dazzling arc in the sky before landing at the collapsed building. Keeping a clear count in mind, Mo Fan clenched his fist as if he were pushing the trigger for a time bomb, and the fire burst and the building exploded. The buildings in this area were already on the verge of collapsing. The impact from the explosion was more than enough to topple it, burying the two one-eyed magic wolves together in the rubble. Mo Fan quickly added the final touch with burning bones. The two one-eyed magic wolves were already having a hard time trying to get out from under the debris, and the flames of the burning bones placed them in a torturing pain. They kept on crying out in agony. They were going to burn to their deaths. Mo Fan was extremely skilled with the basic level spells now. He could utilize the different effects of the spells to maximize his damage output. Killing them all should be enough for another soul essence, right? Mo Fan glanced ahead. The number of the one-eyed magic wolves was quite astonishing. Mo Fan had collected quite a number of soul remnants throughout this adventure. He had improved 5 stars of his lightning element after setting foot in this ravaged city. He currently had over 20 soul remnants in his collection. The group did kill quite a number of servant class and warrior level beasts along their way here, after all. Ooh woo, an advanced level one-eyed magic wolf. Nice. I'll start with you first. An advanced level one-eyed magic wolf was not easy to deal with, and it posed a greater threat to Mo Fan's safety. As such, Mo Fan was not too conservative with his energy when fighting against one. Purple-black electric arcs wrapped around his body, flickering sharply. Chapter 290, completing the collection. An advanced level one-eyed magic wolf was significantly faster and quicker to respond. Mo Fan knew that the cunning beast would dodge his fire spells with ease. Therefore, he straight away went with a much simpler, yet violent way, using the thunderbolt that even an advanced-eyed magic wolf would not be faster than. The purple-golden lightning struck down, triggering a spark in the air. On top of that, the effects of Chinjun made it look even scarier. A single lightning bolt was enough to leave the advanced level one-eyed magic wolf with no chance to react, without the need for a follow-up attack. Its powerful body was shattered into blood spray by the overwhelming power of the thunderbolt. A rain of blood fell down from above, sprinkling onto the rest of the one-eyed magic wolves nearby. Those who were rather timid totally lost their will to fight. The big guy was considered the strongest among them, and yet he was defeated by the human with a single spell. How powerful was this human? Lightning strike. The merciless attacks were enough to highlight Mo Fan's hatred of the one-eyed magic wolves. Before the one-eyed magic wolves could recover from their shock, he lashed out with several forks of lightning strike to hamper the remaining one-eyed magic wolves. When they lost their ability to move from the paralysis, Mo Fan swiftly attacked with 3 fire bursts. There was not any skill that stood out in the series of attacks. He was blatantly killing them with the overwhelming power of fire and lightning. Something is glowing there? It's a soul essence, ha ha ha. I'm in luck, I've found another soul essence. Mo Fan was overjoyed. He had killed quite a number of servant-class demon beasts throughout this adventure, but he'd yet to find any soul essences. He finally understood why the Stardust magic tool was so rare and expensive. Only someone with 4 elements like Mo Fan could afford to face so many beasts at once. The rest of the intermediate magicians who still had not mastered their basics had no choice but to run if they were fighting more than 10 beasts at once. That was another soul essence in the collection, which meant he could now refine his 6th star. In addition, after collecting the soul remnants of the one-eyed magic wolves that were still being slaughtered, they were most likely enough to form half a soul essence. The Swift Star Wolf let out a roar and took a few hits so it could tear at the 3-eyed magic wolf's throat. Following the bite, fresh blood splattered across the place like a spring. It was extremely striking. The 3-eyed magic wolf held its throat with its claw. It realized that it stood no chance against the incredibly nimble Swift Star Wolf, and finally decided to flee for its life. It hurled a worn-out car nearby toward the Swift Star Wolf and ran into the distance. Trying to run? Mo Fan was long aware of its intentions. A shadow pattern appeared under his feet. A shadow spike appeared before his chest. With a thought, it quickly vanished into thin air. From the reflection of a puddle ahead, the shadow of something like a rapier swept past silently. As the three-eyed magic wolf was fleeing into the woods nearby, its movement came to a sudden stop, as if something enormous had grabbed it from behind. The three-eyed magic wolf stomped the ground, which collapsed and sank beneath it, but its body was still held in place firmly in a weird manner. "Finish it off quickly, its strength is rather high," Mofan said to the swift star wolf. The shadow spike nailed to the shadow of the three-eyed magic wolf loosened up due to its strength. Mofan had no idea how long the spike would hold. The swift star wolf sprang forward instantly. Unlike the three-eyed magic wolf, which would leave a huge mark on the ground with each step, the swift star wolf left no trail behind. It was indeed light as a feather and fast as the wind. The swift star wolf's fur fluttered in the wind. He gathered his strength as he ran forward. He was still 20 meters away from the three-eyed magic wolf when he leapt into the air, his sharp claws emitting icy flickers. He drove forward like the thrust of a sword. His claw left a flickering trail behind as it tore through the three-eyed magic wolf's injured throat. The three-eyed magic wolf tried to raise its thick forelegs to shield itself, but the slash blatantly cut through them, too. The two severed arms flew through the air as fresh blood spiraled out from the wounds. The momentum of the slash was not halted by its legs. It continued on to slash through the same wound on the three-eyed magic wolf's throat, turning it from a hole to a clean cut, severing the flesh and bone beneath. Its head slowly fell off from the cut and dropped heavily to the ground, its body still being held in place by Mofan's shadow spike. As a result, a stiffened, headless, giant wolf was just standing there, totally losing its previous imperious appearance. A few seconds later, fresh blood jetted out from the cut like a fountain. As the effect of the shadow spike slowly fell away, the three-eyed magic wolf collapsed onto the ground like a small building. The swift star wolf, who was a clean freak, stayed far away from the corpse. He waited until the blood finished spraying all over the place before going up to the corpse of the three-eyed magic wolf. He ripped open its chest and dug up its heart. He swallowed his prize in one go. The inner organs of the same species of beasts were incredibly useful for the swift star wolf. As a beast that had grown up obeying the law of jungle, being merciful was never the key to staying alive. Following the three-eyed magic wolf's death, the one-eyed magic wolves totally lost their will to fight Mofan and his swift star wolf. They immediately fled in all directions. "You go and clean them up. I'll see if the three-eyed magic wolf has anything valuable left," Mofan said to the swift star wolf. The swift star wolf rolled his eyes like a human. "I've dealt with their boss, and now that the battle has ended, why do I have to clean up still? Are you kidding me? You've already eaten the most valuable heart. Go on," Mofan prodded. He would surely be able to salvage some valuable loot from the corpse of a warrior-level demon beast. If he were lucky to find some mutated bones, claws, or skin useful for crafting equipment, he could sell them off for quite a fortune. Unfortunately, the three-eyed magic wolf did not drop such rare loot, but he did find a mutated bone from one of the dead one-eyed magic wolves. He should be able to sell it for 200,000 RMB. The soul remnants still aren't enough? I've already strengthened the 6th star. My lightning strike is about to rank up. Forget it. I should head on to the next inspection point. I should be able to collect enough soul remnants there. Mofan returned to the device and saw it beeping green, which indicated that it had finished collecting the data regarding the numbers of beasts within 3 kilometers. The next step would be bringing it back to the professionals so they could analyze the data. The next inspection point was not too far away. Mofan followed the map and hurried his way over. "I'm so close to collecting the 7 balls to summon the dragon. Strengthening my lightning strike. I won't feel at ease if I don't complete it." He had managed to complete the task that others would need to group up to accomplish. That's the freedom he got from having a formidable level of strength. Chapter 291, An Eerie Water Spider. "Hold on for a little longer, just a little longer. It's about to turn green. Damn it, more of them are coming. If we don't leave now, we're going to turn into their dinner. It's green, it's green. Let's go, quick." The group was soaked in sweat as they hurriedly fled the place. A few moments later, packs of giant green lizards crawled out from the swampy area and overran the street. They let out cries into the sky as the group of magicians cast spells to escape from the place safely. Luckily, they had come up with an escape route before they carried out the plan. Otherwise, they would have found themselves stuck between the giant lizards by now. Holy crap, we are in such a miserable state, even though we've only completed one inspection point. Doesn't that mean half of us will end up dead if we finish the whole mission? Luo Song grumbled while panting heavily. We're lacking strong firepower since Mo Fan isn't here. It's more of a burden for us to fight against the beasts, Peng Liang subconsciously blurted out. In terms of firepower, even Mu Ningzhu was incomparable to Mo Fan. Both his lightning and fire elements were considered the most violent elements, not to mention that they were both enhanced with soul seeds. He could easily wipe out a whole pack of servant-class demon beasts with a few intermediate spells. Humph, that guy would only get us into trouble. He even claims that he could inspect the places on his own. I believe he's going to come back empty-handed soon, Liao Mingxuan retorted. They had spent 2 days designing their plan and executing it, since the device itself would attract certain demon beasts to them. Therefore, some of them would have to guard the device for 3 hours. It was almost impossible without a team. Indeed, maybe he's already dead, Luo Song replied with a nod. He earnestly hoped that was the case. How lucky was that son of a bitch? Not only did he have double innate elements, he even had 2 soul seeds. Sorry to disappoint you, but my watch is telling me that he's heading straight in our direction, Zhao Manting said. They each had a localizer in their watches, which would point in the direction of the same watch and vaguely display the distance between them. Zhao Manting had been keeping an eye out on his watch all the time and discovered that Mo Fan had started coming toward them an hour ago. He was moving fairly quickly, as if he weren't even trying to hide from the beasts roaming in the city. He was moving toward the group in a straight line. Zhao Manting could not help but wonder if Mo Fan's spirit wolf had evolved successfully. Otherwise, how could he move so fast, in such a daring manner? The group managed to find a resting spot. It was a relatively well-preserved church. The construction of the church was done with considerations for its maintenance as it aged. As a result, the building material used prevented any plant from growing on its walls, which somehow preserved it completely as the city was abandoned. A brief cleaning was enough to prepare the place as a temporary base for the group. 3 students stayed at the church. They were Song Sha, who was still in a coma, Bai Ting, who was handling Song Sha's recovery, and Ming Kong, who was protecting the 2 girls. They were on their way back, but the route they took before is somehow blocked now. It's hard to tell if they can make it back before dark, Ming Kong said to Bai Ting after receiving the news. Bai Ting was kneeling right beside Song Sha. All her weight was pressing down on her calves. Her round buttocks and curvy legs fully stretched her pants without any creases. Anyone would have a lewd imagination looking at her well-rounded body. Ming Kong was not a gentleman to begin with. He knew that Bai Ting was fully focused on healing Song Sha's injury, thus he recklessly stared at her while occasionally swallowing to himself. Everyone knew that Liao Mingxuan liked Mu Nuzhao. He had always been circling around her like a bee, but he was always disgusted when he saw Mo Fan. Ming Kong did not hold a grudge against Mo Fan at the start. However, when he discovered that Bai Ting, whom he was interested in, was quite close to Mo Fan, plus Mo Fan displayed his outstanding talents with his double innate elements, he no longer had a good impression of him. Since Liao Mingxuan, Shen Mingxiao, and Luo Song were trying to pick on Mo Fan, he immediately joined their side without hesitation. Ming Kong had volunteered to guard the church. He wanted to make use of the opportunity to improve his relationship with Bai Ting. Ming Kong, go and collect some clean water. I'll need to clean her wounds, Bai Ting said. Just use the drinking water here. Cleaning the wounds will need plenty of water. We only have a limited supply of drinking water left. We should preserve it, Bai Ting said. Fine. Ming Kong took the container and went out. He was figuring out where he could get the water from. He remembered seeing a pond overgrown with weeds when the group first arrived. The water should be enough for cleaning her wounds. Ming Kong did not notice anything out of place at the pond. He carelessly dipped the container into the pond as his mind was occupied with the image of Bai Ting's body. Unlike Mu Nuzhao and Mu Ningzhu, Bai Ting was relatively petite. She was the type with a well-rounded figure. Ming Kong did not prefer skinny girls, but those with rather defined body parts, as he felt like it would feel better when grabbing them. Normally, most of the people would be worried about the demon beasts in the current environment. However, the more dangerous the situation was, the easier it was for a man to have lewd thoughts due to the atmosphere. Ming Kong had watched some adult-rated videos in a post-apocalyptic setting. Being with Bai Ting in a church alone under the current circumstances did fit the atmosphere. It had been a while since the group had left the safe zone for the training, which meant that Ming Kong, who normally spent every night lying on a woman's body, was unable to fulfill his cravings throughout this period. His mind was full of lewd thoughts and imaginings. He did not even realize that the container had been filled with water. Nor did he notice something that looked like a water spider was climbing into his sleeve past his hand that was still immersed in the water. The half-transparent water spider quickly climbed into Ming Kong's shirt and stayed there. Time to head back. Instead of imagining it here, maybe I should try communicating with her more and see if I could take her down. Ming Kong was not an inexperienced little boy. He knew that just imagining it was totally useless. The key was to find her soft spot and hit it hard. He returned to the church, unknowingly taking along the little creature with an appearance similar to a water spider. This hell of a place is full of bugs, making my whole body itchy. How irritating. Ming Kong scratched his back as he felt a sting there. Chapter 292, A Beastly Act. When the water arrived, Bai Ting mixed some antidote into the container. Song Sha's wounds were recovering very slowly, which clearly indicated that what attacked her was somehow poisonous, too. Healing magic was not useful in treating the poisoned wounds, so she could only rinse the wounds with water. She could sense herself sweating profusely as the heat built up in the church. She took off her jacket, revealing her smooth, pale shoulders. Drops of sweat at the end of her hair sticking to her neck slowly skidded down her chest. Ming Kong stood aside and glanced down from above. His eyes instantly glittered. Such deep cleavage! Judging from his experience, he strongly believed that Bai Ting was wearing something similar to a sports bra, which concealed her astounding breasts. Ming Kong's mind was fully occupied with lewd thoughts. He did not even have the intention of hiding his gaze, he was just staring right at her. His eyeballs were on the verge of launching themselves toward her chest. Bai Ting finished cleaning Song Sha's wounds and wiped the sweat on her cheek with the back of her hand. She then noticed the lustful gaze in Ming Kong's eyes. Bai Ting was startled, but quickly collected herself and said, "Save yourself some pride." Ming Kong did not respond. He was still staring at Bai Ting. Finally, Bai Ting realized that it was not just a simple peek. She could see a strong desire in his eyes. Ming Kong did not budge. His eyes were lost in his lust. For some reason, as his mind was filled with the lewd thoughts, he could sense himself sinking into a swamp of illusion. Within this illusion, he was recklessly making his move at Bai Ting, just like the scenes from the pornography he had seen before. A post-apocalyptic setting, an abandoned building, a man and woman on their own. A burst of evil laughter followed by an embarrassed scream of a girl. The sound of clothes being torn apart. His imagination had totally broken the chains tying a beast deep inside his heart. He cast aside the remaining hints of morality in his heart. All he wanted now was to unleash the beast within him. "What are you doing, you jerk?" Bai Ting screamed with an embarrassed look. Ming Kong, who had lost control to the beast within him, suddenly reached out with his hand and grabbed the strap of Bai Ting's bra. It instantly snapped with a violent pull, revealing half of her firm, well-rounded chest. Bai Ting would not give up without a fight. She quickly backed off in anger while aligning her stars. She would not want to use her magic on a friendly, but Ming Kong had gone too far with his shameful acts. She clearly knew that most of the boys would have some lewd thoughts deep in their hearts, but they usually would not take advantage of a situation like this. Bai Ting never thought Ming Kong would have such a filthy mind under his rather noble appearance. "You filthy scum, what are you trying to do?" A man appeared at the entrance of the church. The man was Lu Zhenga himself, on his violent Mark Wolf. He subconsciously snapped after he saw Ming Kong's actions as he arrived. The violent Mark Wolf sprang forward and held Ming Kong down with its claw. Ming Kong was put under control, but his filthy acts were totally exposed in front of the group. Everyone was staring at him in disbelief. The entire church fell silent for quite a while. Bai Ting put her jacket back on. Her face was still angry. "This is unacceptable. This Ming Kong has gone too far. Why would a person like him be considered an elite from the Imperial College? She would not let him go so easily after they're done with the training." "Ming Kong, are you fucking crazy?" Lu Zhenga slapped Ming Kong in the face. Ming Kong slowly collected his thoughts and saw everyone looking at him with a weird look. His face turned pale white as he glanced at Bai Ting, whose face was blushing and whose clothes were in a ragged state. Oh my, wasn't it just my illusion? Did I really do that to Bai Ting? What are you trying to explain still? Xiaofeng, Shu Delong, tie him up, Lu Zhenga said. I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Sigh, I didn't know he was that kind of person. Yeah, Qing, you were so close with him. You should stay away from him from now on, Zhao Mingyue whispered. The whole incident was too sudden for the group. They never thought something like this would happen. Shu Delong and Xiaofeng tied Ming Kong to a pillar. The group totally lost any desire to discuss the next inspection point. The atmosphere was utterly strange. At night, as the tired went to sleep, they heard footsteps approaching the church. Don't panic, it's me. Mo Fan's voice came from outside. As the door opened, Mo Fan came inside with his usual sloppy smile. He immediately glanced toward those whom he cared about among the group. To his surprise, before he could react, Bai Ting suddenly rose from her spot and ran toward Mo Fan. She dove right into his arms, as if she had just gone through some extreme grievance. Mo Fan could not help but feel that happiness had come too quickly as he felt the softness of her body, and the shocking, bouncy touch. Everyone was stunned. It was easy to tell that Bai Ting liked to hang around with Mo Fan, mainly because he had saved her life before. However, they never knew their relationship had escalated to this stage. Or maybe, Bai Ting was in such shock that she subconsciously assumed Mo Fan to be the only one that could comfort her. Can anyone tell me what happened here? Mo Fan was quite helpless. He thought something bad had happened to someone among the group, but as he took a closer look, everyone still looked alive and well. Can you not leave again? Bai Ting's eyes were slightly red as she spoke in a rather pitiful look, as if Mo Fan was the only one she could trust. Okay. Mo Fan immediately gave his promise. Having a beautiful girl falling into his arms was quite enjoyable, but he still felt strange when she suddenly rushed into his chest like that. Since when had their relationship gone this far? The one that claims he could investigate the places on his own is back. So, how are your results? Liao Mingxuan asked with a sneer. Mo Fan comforted Bai Ting for a while before taking out 2 devices with green lights and chucked them at Mu Ningzhu, who was responsible for keeping them. 2 inspection points? Mu Ningzhu said in a surprised tone. Humph, is that possible? It seems like it. Fuck me, Mo Fan. How did you do it? We almost got wiped out when we did our first inspection point. Peng Liang screamed out in astonishment.